Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the Coach, from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Kane, Taker, Austin, 1998 Attitude Era. We're going a little back in time. I feel like we've been more in the 2000s, so it's nice to get back into the Attitude Era.
Yeah. We're going even further back next week. But before we do that, yeah, Kane, Undertaker, you feel like Brothers of Destruction, like what could possibly, how could this be a bad match? Especially when you've got the special guest referee as well, too, on this one. But it doesn't, it's a weird one. Yep.
Okay. Well, any reason for this one in particular?
Yeah, just because of the story. Like, there was so much that was happening around this time. It was probably one of the hottest times you could be watching wrestling for just kind of what was happening, and the stories and everything is just so hot. And so I think that a big reason for why to do this one. But also, like, looking on paper, you would say, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Well, I'm pumped to cover this match and the history of the two of them, and there's a lot to get into. So I say we jump right into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So this is, I guess, considered an in your house.
Yep.
It's not cataloged that way on Peacock, so it's part of the Judgement Day collection on Peacock, but it is an in your house. We're October 18th, 1998. We're at the Rosemont Horizon, so I'm sure it's a great crowd. 18,000 in attendance and a buy rate of 305,000. So this is, we talk a lot about these Triple H 5-match pay-per-views. Man, this thing's wild. So there's four. Well, we'll call them dark matches. My guess is some or all of them were on Sunday Night Heat. But the four dark matches, Steve Blackman defeating Bradshaw in 3 minutes. The Oddities defeating Los Boricuas in 2 minutes. The Godfather defeating Farouk in 2 minutes. And then Too Cold Scorpio defeating Jeff Jarrett in 3 minutes. So interesting talent and matches involved in that one for sure. The pay-per-view itself has 9 matches on it. We start off with Al Snow defeating Mark Marrow in 7 minutes. LOD 2000, which also had draws in it, is going to defeat the Disciples of Apocalypse in 5 minutes. Christian's going to defeat Taka Michinoku to win the light heavyweight championship in 8 minutes. Goldust is going to defeat Val Venus in 12 minutes. X-Pac is going to win the European Championship over D'Lo Brown in 14 minutes. The Headbangers are going to win by DQ over the New Age Outlaws. So New Age Outlaws retain their tag team championships. Ken Shamrock's going to retain his Intercontinental Championship in 15 minutes against Mankind. Mark Henry is going to defeat The Rock in 5 minutes. Of course, I forget It's 1998. So, and then our main event, Kane and The Undertaker, Steve Austin, special guest referee. That's all I got on the card. Interesting, a lot of moving pieces during the Attitude Era. Storyline standpoint, why are these two wrestling for the vacant WWF Championship, and how is Stone Cold involved as a referee?
Yeah, this one, there's a lot of meat on this bone. So October 18th, 1999 is when this show is taking place. But we're going to go back. It was actually just before SummerSlam. That is when they revealed the brothers, Undertaker and Kane, having this alliance with each other. You had Austin defended the championship against Undertaker. But then it was revealed that McMahon had actually struck a deal with them in order to remove the title from Austin. And so he had been trying to do that since WrestleMania. This actually came to a head at Breakdown in Your House, which was in that September. McMahon, it was a triple threat match, but there was some weird stipulations, of course, where Undertaker couldn't pin Kane and Kane couldn't pin the Undertaker. And so it was really a handicap match since neither of those guys could get a pinfall against each other, and they had to pin, either Austin had to pin one of them or they had to pin Austin. But you had Austin actually being pinned simultaneously by the Undertaker and Kane, causing him to lose his title. With that, you had a little bit. This was, of course, McMahon kind of getting the belt from the ringside, walking out of the building, kind of flipping Austin off. It was a whole thing. It was cool to watch. But like, since though that both guys had pinned Austin, like, what's the deal with the title? So the next night, as we all know, the great clip, I was there in Detroit, the crowning of the new champion in the ring, McMahon surrounded by police, all that other stuff, and then and then of course the iconic Austin driving the Zamboni from backstage into the ringside area, moving the ring, jumping, kind of running across the top of the Zamboni and jumping onto McMahon. Just an incredible segment, like absolutely worth every minute of it. Just really good. So getting arrested, of course, I thought it was real. Like everybody did. The crowd just going ape shit for it. Just really good. You then had, since the part of them being with McMahon was they were supposed to protect him from Austin and didn't do that. That he was not going to be giving the championship to either of them, and instead it was going to be considered vacant and that they would face off for it at Judgment Day. And because of that, too, because he wanted Austin to suffer, as he said, suffer the indignity, as he put it, Austin was going to be the special guest referee of that match. And then it's because that way he would have to crown the champ for one of the guys that made him lose the belt. So dealing with all that, you kind of, a little bit more back and forth. Started to see a little bit of the breakdown with kind of what was happening and stuff like that between McMahon. Further attacking him. We, of course, then McMahon in the hospital as well too. We got that iconic moment as well too leading up to this. Of course, this is with McMahon and his leg being injured after kind of a few Undertaker leg dropping, or not, like elbowing it a few times, and then the submission as well too. You had Austin, of course, hitting him with the bedpan over the head, the defibrillator, like just great. It as wild as it was and as crazy as it was literally, it's just classic right there. And so you had as well too the pouring of the cement into Vince's Corvette. Of course, we all know that shot, and the window exploding, just absolutely great. And Austin saying he was not going to, raise the hand of the champion, and that he would be fired if he didn't. Or McMahon said he would be fired if he didn't. And so it's so much happening in the lead up to this. So many iconic moments in wrestling history, especially not just Austin, but like in wrestling, like just incredible stuff, really between McMahon and Austin. But this match taking place in order to crown a champ after we didn't have a champ. And so kind of you would think it would come together, but we're going to see what happens here shortly.
Okay. This should be something, man.
That's one way to put it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. 2 hour, 16-minute mark. Judgment Day, 1998. Jeff, are you ready?
I believe so. Let's do this.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
right.
All right.
Yep. And Austin
Taker jumping him. We're off and running.
So not had a ref shirt in the back. That's okay.
Should he be wearing a ref shirt? I mean, the two sides of the argument, one would be it's weird if he's not wearing one. The other would be, Steve Austin's a badass and he'd look stupid in a ref shirt. So what do you think?
Mm-hmm. We've seen him both ways since. I think that this era, him wearing the Austin 316 shirt, which is what he's wearing, makes way more sense. Like what? Like
yeah, no, I agree.
Unless you did some kind of variation on it, like no, like that he looks great. Yep. Austin or Taker walking the ropes at this point. Yep.
Wow, that's quick.
We've danced around it the last few weeks here, and so this was a loaded card with 8-9 matches. Anymore, I sent you a link the other day, and you're like, "Yep, I'm excited to watch all 5 matches." AEW, I feel like I have to send you 2 graphics because there's so many damn matches on a card. Where are we? Is WWE doing it right? Is it too few? Is AEW too many? Like, where do you land on this?
So I'm definitely in the less is more camp. I look at it 2 different ways, right? So the 5 matches for the viewing audience, man, it's like perfect. I just feel like 5 matches, maybe for like a B show, 2.5, 245, 5 matches for, a Rumble because they're longer matches. It's a 3-hour and 15-minute show. Maybe you go to 6 or 7 on a SummerSlam and a WrestleMania. Like I'm good. I'm good with that. The only downfall I see to the 5, and it's rarely ever my problem, is if you're there live. Because I'm thinking, okay, Berlin. I believe Berlin had like the most expensive tickets ever. I don't know I'd be curious if you know what the prices are on these. I just heard these international shows are expensive as hell. Now, obviously we're dealing with different currency. So, apples and oranges a little bit, but I feel like, man, if I went to Berlin or I went to France, like, okay, who am I not seeing, right? Like I'm not seeing a lot of people. If I'm a fan of AJ Styles, I'm not seeing him. I'm not seeing Brock Lesnar. I'm not seeing Roman Reigns. I didn't see Seth Rollins. Again, I'm just naming like the Berlin show, but like that's the only thing where I feel like maybe the brand's so hot it doesn't matter. But like if you're a big Jey Uso mark, you didn't see him in Berlin. You didn't see the Bloodline in Berlin. You didn't see Roman Reigns in Berlin. So are they burning any bridges with the 5 matches? I mean, and I know they're like not around right now, but like you didn't see Charlotte and Becky, right? Like I'm just naming like all these people that you're not seeing. Like if you're like a huge Bayley fan, it's like, well, I didn't get a chance to see her. Does that make sense? Like that's the only
absolutely.
downfall. As a viewer, what do I care? It's like great, 5 matches, I enjoy it. Mix it up, keep the wrestlers healthy. They don't all have to be at everything. We don't have to jam everyone on the card. So I think for like I think for every reason it makes sense other than perhaps a big time audience not seeing. And I know sometimes like I think they try to work Cody in at least in like a talk segment. Like I think
dark match, yeah,
or something. So anyways. Just my thoughts. What about you?
So I'm looking online right now. I don't know if this was resale or it's got to be resale. There's no way this is the actual, but this is saying anywhere from 540 euros to 1900 euros. You break that down to US dollars, you're looking at $600 to $2,100 for a Bash in Berlin ticket. That's got to be resale.
Are you kidding me?
That's what this is saying.
But even if it is, so what? So what? That still means that like, if you didn't get on there that day, that's what the get-in price was. That's insane.
Yeah. So this guy says, I bought mine for 523 euros and tickets in the same section are now going for 840. So there was definitely a markup at some point. So this has got to be resale market, but still, we watch the resale market a lot when these shows are happening. Like, occasionally the day of, you and I'll send a screenshot of kind of what it looks like and stuff like that. But you figure maybe it started at 100. But to your point, yeah, I have a friend who single mom, she's got 2 kids, and she, like, her son is always really high on Cody. And so she knows, I do what I do in wrestling. And so she'd asked me about it. And so, and this was a while ago, she asked me about it, but there was a show near her. And I said, "Oh, are you going?" And she's like, "No, because I don't think I've looked into it a lot. I don't think Cody's going to be there, or he's not." And so she's like, "I don't want to spend the money." And I said, I get that. I absolutely get that. And it was a Raw versus a SmackDown. And so he wasn't going to be there. And I said, and you have to factor that. We hear that a lot of time. I don't give a shit, like, Biden, whatever. That's not what this is. Like, this is like money. Money only goes so far nowadays. I don't think, especially even with like the Ticketmaster prices when they first announce it, I don't think they're gouging us. I do think that WWE isn't trying to gouge us. Like, they live in the Ticketmaster universe, but it is like you can get $25 tickets that's what they're listed at plus the fees. Some of these bigger shows, I get why there's a markup, but also, like, to your point, like, yeah, if I'm going, I do want to see wrestlers. I do want to see some of the people I want to see. There are some weeks where, I'd like to see certain wrestlers on a premium live event that I don't get to, but also, like, if the other stories are coming together great, I don't care. Like, I'm okay with that because maybe I'll see him on the next show, or I won't see certain people, or like it is a testament to what they're doing right now that Roman doesn't need to be on every show, and he's still the hottest wrestler in the company. And so, maybe flip flop him and Cody or something like that. But it's really interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I get it. I mean, these prices are insane. I did hear that some concert tours are being canceled because of poor ticket sales.
Yes.
And the belief is that tickets are, sporting is softening. I'm sorry, entertainment tickets are softening. It appears there was some pent up demand following COVID. So, hey, I hadn't been in anything in 2 years. So there were extra people going. I think that's just softened. Doesn't mean it correlates with WWE at all. But it does seem like some of these touring brands and concert companies have gotten a little greedy with their prices. I certainly believe so. I think it's insane.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to be spending hundreds of dollars for horrible seats, I don't know, man. Like, I get spending a lot of money for good seats. I just don't get spending a lot of money for bad seats. That just in anything.
Well, and anymore, like, I struggle. Like, I don't really even want to sit on the floor, especially a premium live event where you're that spread out. Like, you can't see anything. So I am like a 100 or 200 level kind of guy. So I don't mind that. It is. You're not watching the action in the ring necessarily. A lot of times you are watching it on the screen. And I think so much of it too is built anymore. It's built for the at home. Like, some of the spectacle of it gets lost. And sometimes when you're there watching it in person, it doesn't mean you're not watching something else. You just got to understand that, like, there's going to be long periods of like nothing happening, whether it's like, we're on a commercial break or whatever. And you're not going to know that. You also don't have commentary, which that's, a big part of what it is now. So it's just a different experience. Like, part of it, you got to understand that. And that's why too, I get like, okay, my friend, she takes her, even if she took one of her 2 kids, that's a lot. That's an investment. That's, that's a Christmas gift type thing. Like that's a big deal. And so, cause you're looking at, by the time you park, probably food, like, your ticket, like, anymore, like that. Like, we don't go to the movies often anymore anyways, but we go to the movies, like, we're going on the cheap night, not because we're cheap, but because I'm not spending $18 on a movie ticket. Like, I'm just not.
Yeah. I mean, there's a massive difference going, matinee versus night, weekday versus weeknight.
And it depends on the movie too. Like, there's certain, like, Twisters, that new Twisters movie was really good this summer. Like, I want to see that in a movie theater. Deadpool, Wolverine. I want to see that in the movie theater. And so kind of doing that type of stuff is just really interesting, to see how that, but then there's other movies like no, I'll wait for it to go on streaming. I don't need to, I'm paying the $9.99 already. I don't need to be spending more than that. So I think that's a big part of it too. And so, yeah, but, and we talk a lot too about like video games, me and the guys, I think have brought it up on the show before too. It's are you getting your money's worth? If I'm, they're saying more and more that the price of video games is, we went from 50, it's 60, we're seeing 70 now for some video games. They're saying some of these big ones, like we could in next year see like some of these premium games, like the Grand Theft Autos and stuff like that being $100. Like, okay, I'm not going to, it's hard for me to spend $60 on a game that takes me 5 hours to beat. Like that's not worth it. But am I getting 30, 40 hours out of it? 60, it makes a little bit more sense and I'm having a good time. Same with like, am I playing it with the guys? Like if I'm not, if I'm playing it solo versus we're all bought it and we're playing it, it makes a really big difference. And kind of what, how far your money goes and what you're spending it on. Like, yeah, it crazy. But I do think that the product, we see all the time that AEW numbers are just, the attendance numbers are never going to go up. And those are cheap tickets the day of. Like you can get a cheap AEW ticket right now. They're playing smaller venues, so they're doing a good job, but they're just not like, they're not getting the eyes on it. Who knows? Like that's just how it is. Like just accept that and kind of go into that lane. But yeah, I think it's just really interesting. You got to factor in all these different things and look at all these different pieces of, are we getting the money's worth? Like on a, random middle of the month, October Raw, is it going to be as good? I don't know. Like it may not be, but also the intrigue is there because are we moving? Like we're moving, to different channels. We got, Netflix is on the horizon as always, and they're already selling that. We got wrestlers returning. We just got, the storylines. There's so many, like you said, there's so many moving pieces. I don't want to not watch.
Yep. You ready for some trivia?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We haven't done trivia in a while.
Yeah, we need to do trivia every episode.
I need to do better about it. Yeah, we'll start doing some better stuff.
We both do. How many times have Kane and the Undertaker wrestled head to head?
Oh, singles match?
Televised singles matches.
20 times.
14.
Ooh, oh man. Feels between what was the window? Do you have the first and last time?
I sure do.
All right, I'm ready.
We'll get to that. So, okay, so what was their first match? WrestleMania 14.
Right, yeah.
1998. Okay, so 1998, WrestleMania 14. Last match.
As a tag team, it was against DX. I don't know what their last match against each other would have been.
Last singles match was in 2010 at Bragging Rights in a buried alive match for the World Heavyweight title. So there was a 12-year gap between the first and last one-on-one match.
Got it.
Now there were some draws in here, but I'm going to ask you, how many wins do you think Kane had?
Out of 14 matches, I know Undertaker probably won more than Kane did. I'm going to guess he won 3 times.
Kane won 4 times. How many times do you think the Undertaker won?
Like you said, if there were some draws, let's say 6, maybe 7.
6 is correct.
Okay, got it.
And then there were 4 draws.
Okay.
What was the highest rated match that they ever wrestled in?
Highest? That's hard because it could be not this one. Was it the I'll say it probably wasn't the Inferno match either.
It was the Inferno match.
Was it really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So, geez.
Now this is just one ranking, but the ranking here says best match was Inferno, second best was WrestleMania 14. There's a lot of duds in here. Third was Night of Champions 2010. Kane's going to retain clean. Fourth is WrestleMania 20. Fifth is a champion versus champion match that ended in a no contest in SmackDown. We have a number one contender match where Kane defeats The Undertaker in 98. That was to get to King of the Ring where he won the title.
Yeah.
Another Inferno match that was on Raw in 1999. It was only 6 minutes long. Survivor Series 98, they wrestled in that Deadly Games tournament, which The Rock ultimately won. There's a Hell in a Cell match in 2010. So in 2010, they did a Hell in a Cell match. Looks like they did Buried Alive. Looks like they did like 3 different things. In 2010, Paul Bearer returned and betrayed The Undertaker again. The Bragging Rights, which was their last match, a Buried Alive match in 2010. There's still 4 more matches here. There's a Raw match in 2000. There's SummerSlam 2000. They had a 7-minute match.
Here comes Paul Bearer out to the ring.
There's this match was the second to worst. And then there's a casket match on Raw that was only 4 minutes. All right, so here comes Paul Bearer.
But without a doubt, he wants to align himself with the champion. Paul Bearer said, let me do it. Let me hit The Undertaker for you, son. He wants to blast him.
Son.
Uh-oh.
Paul Bearer just hit his own son. For goodness sakes.
Oh, boy. Bad idea. Yeah.
The big red machine.
Man, Paul was a big boy at this point.
Oh, boy. Yeah. He was real big at this point. Yep.
Nowhere to go.
Oh, God.
Lord.
Just cracked him square on the skull. Yep. But so Taker going for the pin, but Austin not counting it. Crowd's going wild. Yep.
Yeah, the crowd's into this. Crowd was just into everything in the Attitude Era. Like
Stunner. Yep.
The stunner. Austin got the stunner on The Undertaker.
Oof, that was not really protected there with the chair shot.
Undertaker, Kane her down. Austin's counting. Austin just counted The Undertaker and Kane down.
I don't even know what that means, but okay.
And the winner of the match is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh my God. You're not the winner. You're fixing to be the big loser. You just lost your
Let's bring your little
job.
crippled ass out here. You said you had a promise to keep, so will your little ass out here.
Austin is challenging McMahon to firing. Is he
If
crazy?
you ain't coming down here,
All right, well, Austin's going to get fired by McMahon. We'll kind of keep it on silent here as we shift in here. But let's go ahead and get to the aftermath.
It's time for the aftermath.
Okay, what'd you think?
The match wasn't as bad.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was definitely better. Definitely better than last week. It just could have hit a little different. Yeah, of course. And again, we're big angle at the end here, but not bad by any means. It is what it was. That's what it is. Yeah.
Hey, they're back in Gorilla. It's not what it looks like now, huh?
Oh boy, yeah, that is a whole lot different. Yep. Yeah,
I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, here's the thing: is like Austin was just so over that whatever he did was just like, I mean, place went nuts. Like they probably went home happy despite, Schmaw's finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all right, it was good.
Yeah, watching it, just continue watching. So, anyways, yeah. So, what kind of happened here after the fact was, as you said, Austin ends up getting fired here, plain and simple. But since he did not crown the champion in that one, the title's still vacated. We ended up with a tournament to crown a new champion at Survivor Series. You had The Rock would then win that tournament and the title by beating Mankind in the finals. They kind of did a Montreal screw job throwback on that one. And so kind of having the belt, even though Mankind didn't submit yet. And so The Rock warding the title by Mr. McMahon, leading the two forming an alliance that would then start the beginning of the corporation as we know it. Like I said, Austin fired, appearing on Raw the following night, and he held McMahon to gunpoint, as we know, and kind of dealing with that. And of course, again, the iconic kind of revealing the joke gun and the flag to bang Austin, or a bang 316 on it, causing McMahon to piss his pants and doing that. And so, again, the revealing that there was the contract, guaranteed championship match that was actually signed by Shane. And so Shane being a part of this as well too now, as well as being stripped of his ownership. And so it's just kind of a lot happening. But Taker and Paul Bearer reuniting after this show, actually admitting that Kane, he'd been using him all along, brought him to the WWE, the previous, just a big part of that. And so, but then Undertaker going on to form the Ministry of Darkness over the next few weeks, as we all know. And then by the end of that year, he had Mideon, Bradshaw, Farouk in the group. And so a lot of moving pieces even after this one, like just, crazy, but really good. Yep.
It wasn't that bad. And I mean, the pop at the end was so big.
Yeah.
That, it did what it needed to do, right? I mean, it's a B show pay-per-view and we're trying to advance the McMahon, the feud here is McMahon Austin. It's not Kane Undertaker.
Right, exactly. And it just wasn't, it could have been worse. We've seen way worse, but it's just not there was a lot of good stuff here. So, Yeah, not bad at all. I didn't think so. So, okay. So with that, kind of getting into this, the reviews and write-ups on this one. Kane was 21 this year. Undertaker number 5. Again, this would have been 1998. And getting into that, the torch on this one, Undertaker and Kane fought to a double countdown. Undertaker and Kane apparently decided to set the bar really low for pay-per-view main events this month. It will be tough for Hollywood Hogan and Warrior to sink to the depths below this match, though they might manage to do it. And so that was your what was going on over at WCW when you thought that match was going to beat this one. So, no one does pay-per-view. Okay, so all right. The Torch gave this one -2 stars. This was the worst match, according to the Observer newsletter, between the ridiculously bad overacting by McMahon, the silly storyline that has potentially scary repercussions, seeing 13,000 people enthusiastically rooting for Austin to pull the trigger on McMahon in one of the worst main events in Raw history, with an Undertaker versus Kane casket match that was actually worse than the pay-per-view match the previous night and ended in a chorus of boos. Undertaker argued with Austin. Austin gave him a stunner and a chair shot. Just all kind of Austin or McMahon wound up in the luxury boxes being pelted by fans, and Austin said that Vince didn't have the balls to fire him. Vince, of course, then fired him. See, Vince has the balls. -1/2 stars. So -2, -1/2. I don't know why this was. Are we missing something? Like, why is this so poorly received?
Because you're if all you're doing is looking at the wrestling and that's your barometer, then I mean, it's two guys that are 6'8", 6'10" in a 20-minute match. I mean, what's it going to be? 5 stars? Mm-hmm. It is what it is. I mean, you're advancing a storyline. The match was fine. It wasn't like it was horrible. I mean, this wasn't like Goldberg Undertaker, right? Like it was two lumbering guys. The Gaga was Austin in it, and the McMahon intrigue. And if it sucked so bad, then why did people go nuts at the end, and why were they loud throughout the match? So I have this at a 5. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was decent. There were some good things, some bad things, and we're telling a story. And I've said that they for as hot as Austin was, he didn't have a lot of toys to play with in '98. I mean, he had McMahon, It's like they turned Mick Foley heel into Dude Love. You had The Undertaker. You had Kane. The Rock wasn't quite there yet, although they got him there as a heel a month later at Survivor Series. But yeah, there just weren't a lot of options for Austin. There weren't 10 guys. I mean, you look now and it's like there's how many guys on the roster now could be world champion and you wouldn't think twice about it. Mm-hmm. Shit, probably 20. I mean, go down the list. Like, if you have a top baby face right now, like a Cody, who could challenge them? Well, gosh, you got 20 guys, like you didn't have 5 guys on the roster. I mean, here, look, go back just quickly. Go back and look at this show. Who was on this show? Steve Blackman, Bradshaw, Oddities, Los Bariquas, Godfather Farouk, Scorpio Jarrett, Snow Marrow, LOD, Disciples of Apocalypse, Christian Taka, Goldust Venus, X-Pac D'Lo, Headbangers, New Age Outlaws. Okay, none of them are challenging for the world title. So now we're down to Ken Shamrock, who I don't know if he was a heel or baby face at the time, but okay, maybe. Mankind, we already did. Mark Henry, no. Rock, he got there. Kane and Undertaker. There's just not a lot. There's not a lot you can do here. So, anyways, I thought it was fine. What about you?
Yeah, again, I don't think it deserves the shit that it's getting. It was fine. Like, no, it did. And is it like it was not nearly as bad as what our last week's with it was pure angle. Like this one, there was at least some wrestling. It was still good. It's hard because I'm wondering, like I said, am I missing something here? But I don't think I am. And so I'm going to give it a 5 because it did. We look at everything too. So if we had looked at the match by itself, like even then it wasn't terrible, but there were so many, I might even bump it up to like a 6.5 because now that I'm thinking about it out loud and I look at all the iconic moments that this gave us, one bad match isn't going to spoil that. Like we did have so much good stuff that happened around this and with this that, like, I can't shit on that. Like, you almost have to if you're like, oh, well, the match was bad. Okay, the match wasn't great, but at the same time, like, I was there for the Zamboni. Like, to this day, I remember that, and so, there was so much that was happening with this that you can't not appreciate it. So, so I'm going to do a 6.5 and more so than the match itself, but all of the things that surrounded it. Yep.
Okay.
So want to remind everybody, of course, like this is a good one to talk about. I think if you're watching the full story, I think this is one where, watching the match by itself may not be good, but taking it for what it is and the overall picture, I thought that this was a good one. I am glad we revisited this one because we had a good conversation about this. So interesting. Yeah, for sure. So, of course, reminding everybody, manscaped.com, using that promo code payoff, giving you 20% off, 20% off, and free shipping. Load up that cart, get whatever you want. All kinds of good stuff, no matter what you're using. Tom and I use everything. Even just this morning, I used the beard trimmer. I used the nose hair trimmer, followed by the beard trimmer, and then some of the shower stuff. I got the body wash and the shampoo in the shower too. So I was a full Manscaped morning myself. So good stuff though. So then next week, where are we going? We're going back even further in the hopper to 1987 next week.
I'm excited for this one.
This was a late edition. I'm excited for it, but we're going to do Bret Hart and Randy Savage. It's Saturday Night Main Event 1987.
Okay.
Let's send them home happy.
Well, we appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.